This podcast brought to you by Basecrete, leaders in waterproof bond coatings for the swimming pool and construction industry.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Tom Dankel from Aquamatic, leaders in automatic and manual pool safety cover innovation since 1980. It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show, Tom.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you first got involved in the pool cover industry?
Yeah, it's been long, many decades. Actually, the founder of the company, Harry Lass, who is still the president and CEO, he had built a pool for himself, was not in the pool business, built a pool, and this is up just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, in a small town called Port Moody, and built an indoor pool there. Had some humidity, control problems being indoor, and that's, we can get into that. But I was doing some work on his house to help him finish off this magnificent home he was building, and I had a construction background, so I was doing construction work, siding, interior, exterior work on his home. And at that time, he built the swimming pool by hand himself out of cinder block with a vinyl liner, and he ended up automating this vinyl, and it's actually a great story. We can get into that if time permitting. But so I ended up helping him on the very first automatic pool cover that was developed in the late 70s. But I was doing my own thing, and then when he ended up doing my own thing in the construction industry, but then when he decided to make a go of the automatic cover business in 1980, he moved to California at that time. And then I came down about 5 years later because there was not much happening in the construction industry. I was in custom home building, and people complain about interest rates today at 6 and 7%. Well, for those that are of age, we can remember interest rates then being 22% in the home market. So that kind of dried up, and that brought me to California to be full-time in the cover business. So I've been here since 1985, in a full-time position.
Oh, that's a long tenure with that company. And obviously, Aquamatic has become a predominant leader in the sector during that time frame. Can you tell us a little bit about how Aquamatic differentiates themselves from other pool safety cover manufacturers and what they sell on the market?
It's a great question. If you look at a photograph of the pool cover, the photograph, for all intents and purposes, looks the same, almost like certain automobiles. The styles are all the same, but it's, what makes the system different is usually what's the heart and soul, i.e. the drive unit. And, while we started with electric covers in the late 70s, and in the late 80s, we started to experiment with hydraulic drives, but we wanted to remove electric motors away from the pool side. So in the late 80s, we did our, first kind of prototype units. And by 1994, we were exclusively hydraulic. So to answer your question, what makes the system different is the drive unit. And that's the durable good, right? Which lasts the longest out of all the components. So we're an all-fluid hydraulic drive with no mechanical linkage. There's no service requirements on the mechanism, meaning there's no lubrication points, that sort of thing. So it's a closed loop dual motor system, one to open the cover, one to close the cover. And there's no mechanical linkage of any kind, meaning no clutch. Every other domestically produced automatic cover has some kind of a clutch system because they have a single motor drive. But we developed that dual motor system. Now we didn't invent hydraulics, but we invented the hydraulic pool cover, right? So what we did is, we looked at, how can we want to build this as robust and as simple as possible at the same time. So, the brushes within a car wash, right? Those are driven by hydraulic orbital torque motors. So we use that same motor on our automatic pool cover system. Well, you can appreciate that in a typical car wash, that use in one day might be the entire service life of somebody's backyard swimming pool, right? Because those things are spinning on hours. Well, in a pool cover, how many times is that really being operated? Even if it was 5 times a day, let's say, which is a lot for residents, that would, we're only talking minutes of use, right? So that's why we can back this up with such a long warranty like we do at 20 years, because it just, the components we use are over-engineered for in our application. And it just, they just don't wear out. And if for some reason the motor were to fail, we're happy to give you one. No questions asked.
Well, it's certainly a high-end product. I mean, I see it on a lot of really sophisticated jobs throughout the country. I mean, can you walk us through your product line a little bit? Can we talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, absolutely. The Hydromatic is what pays the bills. It's our bread and butter. And that is our fully automatic system that is also an ASTM approved safety cover. So the ASTM, which is the American Society of Testing Materials, back in the late 80s set a standard, and it was finally adopted in 91. And that standard exists for all automatic cover manufacturers, and that's our predominant product line. To that, we have a couple of other cover systems, and then we have accessories to the Hydromatic. Our Easy Cover is a single user manual cover that looks and installs just like an automatic system, but without the automatic component. And it's the only manual cover that can be operated by one person in one comfortable standing position. No ropes to pull or cranks to manhandle or anything like that. And then, and that's our entry level cover. And then our, Highline product is the Hydrolux, which is a fully automatic system, but that does not use tracks, ropes like traditional automatic covers, where you're forced to stay within the confines of a rectangle, right? Every automatic safety cover, has the tracks, and even though the pool may be freeform, the cover is always rectangular in shape. The Hydrolux utilizes extruded PVC or polycarbonate slats that we can cut to any converging shape. So we can start it wide and go narrow. It's not telescopic, so you can't go wide again, but we can do, like I say, converging shapes. We just, we did one recently that has a 30-foot radius vanishing edge, and the cover is cut to the shape of that vanishing edge. So we can provide automation on many, many unique applications that before could never be done automatically. But this gives us that flexibility. And so, as we like to say, your only limitation is your imagination and your checkbook. But, we can do a lot of different things with it. So that's a very exciting product. And we can go really big with those too. As far as I know, and until somebody tells me otherwise, we've done the 2 largest automatic covers in the world with that Hydrolux, because we're not restricted by spans of leading edge bars and things like that. But the Hydromatic is probably 80% of our product annual production, and it's a great product in terms of safety and energy savings, ROI and all those things.
Can we talk a little bit about those 2 projects that you were talking about?
Yes, one actually was right here in our backyard, and it was a local community college, Gavilan, and that pool has 2 sections to it. The main body of the pool is 60 by 95, and then that's kind of the east side of the pool, and then the west side is a 45 by 65. And they were doing that with, traditional insulating blankets with multiple rollers and multiple people to deploy. And they have quite a wind problem there. And I have photographs of that you would swear were staged, but they weren't. That's how the wind would just take these covers and bundle them up amongst themselves. And it was quite labor intensive. So now we have this cover that doesn't get affected in that regard. And also, with these commercial pools too, you can't have an obstruction around the pool. So that we adopted solar power to power our hydraulic drive unit, because these superstructures actually move. In this particular pool, that I think moves 10 feet away to allow the pool operator to put their starting blocks in or stands for their competitions. So that's a very cool project. And then the last one we just did, most recent one, was for the city of Fairbanks, Alaska. They have a pool that is dual purpose, meaning during the days, it's a school pool, and on nights and weekends, it's a community center. And that particular room was the second highest consumer of energy in the borough of Fairbanks. So being indoor, and then, there's extreme temperature swings, there are costs to run that via dehumidification, and that sort of thing was very expensive. But, we had a solution for this pool, and it's quite large as well. And also 2 sections. There's the way the pool is designed, it's not a big rectangle. So that one is it's hydraulically driven, but battery powered. So every night when the pool is shut down, they plug it in, but they drive everything. The batteries, energize the DC power packs, which pressurize the hydraulics, which drive the cover. Yeah, now we've got some other commercial pools. Again, energy is becoming really big now in people's minds, more so every day, especially on some of these commercial pool applications where the energy consumption is so massive and the ROI is fairly quick. But also it's the manpower savings, not only the cost to do that, but when they're trying to cover these big pools, it takes a number of people a very long time to try to deploy these blankets. And in some cases, it's so laborious, they end up not doing it because they just don't have the manpower available to do so. So we have a solution for that now as well, as compared to a traditional backyard swimming pool, which is still our bread and butter.
Oh, certainly some great projects that you brought up, and it definitely brings to mind some of the differentiating factors between maybe Aquamatic and some of the other players in this sector. When we talk about solar and electric covers, I mean, how has the cover industry kind of evolved over the years, and what do you see as the biggest trends shaping its future right now?
Energy is a big driver right now I'll speak for ourselves, but I'm assuming my competitors are seeing the same thing. For our hydromatic, the track type of systems, in years past, it was safety, right? And that safety still exists, right? That will never go away. As people become more environmentally conscious, and also there's some social responsibility there. They want to feel good about themselves and not being wasteful, right? To their friends and their family and their peers and that sort of thing. So, we're seeing that mindset change more so, but certainly here in the arid, or drier, this winter notwithstanding, right? Because it's raining right now as I'm looking out my window, and it's been raining a lot here in Northern California, but the water condition is what it is, right, in the Southwest. And this is a natural resource that we, all kind of take for granted, right? So this has become a big decision maker. And frankly, I mean, with a cover on the pool, I'll even speak to just a manual bubble cover. It still does something. Anything is better than nothing, right? And then the amount of loss, evaporative loss is staggering. And, and the nice thing about an automatic cover is there's no reason to not cover the pool. Manual covers, often become later, and later becomes never, right? Especially if the pool is fairly large, where, with an automatic cover, you turn the key, the cover travels at a foot per second. So, a 40 pool is 35 to 40 seconds and it's done. And a pool's never uncovered unless you're using the pool or maybe you're entertaining and you want to see the water. So, now we've eliminated the evaporation. And so by doing that, now you don't have to replenish that water. When you replenish the water, you have to retreat it and reheat it. So it's not this vicious cycle anymore, right? So you're maintaining that water. It's at a warmer temperature. It's cleaner. Your pump and filtration is reduced. So you're enhancing, that life expectancy of that because you're not using it as much. And a byproduct too is a cleaner and warmer pool is a pool that gets used more. So, as we like to say, spend less time skimming and more time swimming. Right. So we're seeing that, just smarter pools, like smart homes, right? In terms of energy, right? And how things are used, whether it's, solar for a home or the smarter thermostat control, right? Things like that, sensing when people are in the building or out of the building, right? There's a lot of that technology now is to keep energy costs down, and a pool will do the same, so combination of the way things are with variable speed pumps and maybe active solar heating, and then you put a cover on, because you can generate all the heat you want, but if you don't maintain it, you might as well be standing on the roof throwing $100 bills in the air, right? Okay. So put a cover on it. You greatly enhance the ownership experience. And, like my pool, I bought a home with an existing pool and, about 36,000 gallons, fairly decent size. And, I asked the seller, how often you're running the equipment, and they're running it 8 hours a day, to keep the pool maintained as it needs to be. With a cover, I'm down to 3 hours a day. Now, that's not a lot for one day, but you amortize that 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, all of a sudden you can start to see that money coming back to you. And again, I open up I turn my key, my pool's crystal clear every time, right? I don't have to fish a bunch of leaves or bugs or debris out of it.
So just enables you to enjoy your pool more. It's
Exactly.
easier to use, easier operation. Honestly, that's all great information. I would love to get a little personal for a second. I mean, can you talk a little bit about some challenges or maybe some obstacles that Aquamatic has faced in becoming a market leader and how your company has overcome them?
Well, we are fortunate that and there's really there's plenty of smart engineers out there, but we are owned by an engineer, right? And Harry Laster started the company. It was he created the product for a need. So if I could just back up for a moment and start at the very beginning, right? So he had this humidification problem. He was putting a sheet of plastic out there. Well, that works. It wasn't convenient, and was a pain to take it on and off and fold it back. He was also a mechanical engineer at a refinery and knew about automation. And he was also an amateur sailor. Loved to sail. So one day he was sailing, and the sail's going up and down the mast. And he thought, well, why can't I move the pool cover? Why can't I move a piece of plastic over the pool like I am with the sail? And that's kind of how it started, right? So, and that's how he did that. And so we fast forward, now he has over 36 patents just in the automatic cover sector, right? So we have more, and on our one hydromatic cover, we have more technology than on that one system, than in terms of patents and things that we brought to market, than the entire industry combined has. So we've been an industry leader, and we can show more firsts, more onlys throughout our history, and a lot of things that are in play today are things that we developed many, many years ago. And yeah, some patents have run out, or and you can get around some of that stuff by doing a redesign on something, just tweaking it ever so slightly, and it depends on how broad the patent is written. But nevertheless, it's good for the industry, and there's lots of room at the table for everybody, right? There's more business than we can all handle, which is just fine, and there's nothing wrong with good, healthy competition. But yeah, so kind of answer your question, because he is still heavily involved, and he is so dialed in with design and that sort of thing. So when somebody comes to us, like these large applications that nobody's ever done before, we can set them in the room there and say, Harry, figure this out, and he goes and does it, right? Whereas other companies, you'd have to bring in an outside engineer, and they don't know the nuances or the idiosyncrasies of what the cover does or what it needs to do, and what the end user or the operator can expect. So that's the advantage that we have, and we can pivot and react very quickly to what a market or a client or an application needs, and that's really our strength.
Certainly. I mean, the IP that's in his head is invaluable. I mean, I'm sure to a lot of different builders, engineers, people that are looking to put a cover system together for a large scale project.
Yes, exactly.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, what advice would you give to a homeowner that is considering buying a pool cover for the very first time? I mean, what are some of the benefits of using a pool safety cover, both in terms of safety and energy efficiency?
Yeah, to be as neutral as possible, not talk about Aquamatic for a moment. Yeah, the aforementioned energy is important. Whether it's our cover brand X, Y, or Z, your energy savings and return on investment are paramount right now, more than ever. Yeah, and energy prices aren't going down anytime soon, or the cost to do that sort of thing. So getting them to understand, getting over that initial kind of sticker shock, education. Okay, hey, we're gonna, the minute the cover's installed, it's gonna start paying you back, period. All right. Now, everybody's ROI is different depending on how their pool is used, where it's used, right? Certain conditions have more exposure to sun. You're at 8,000 feet elevation as opposed to sea level, right? There's all these kind of things that come into play. So, and then if they have children or pets, safety, right? This is safety you can see. You don't have to worry about a fence. A fence, somebody can climb over or through or under, or the door is left ajar. With a pool cover, it's safety you can see. The cover's on the pool. it's safe, right? There's no question about it. There's that. So, and then address those items, and then it comes down to, okay, well, what system is it that you want? And our covers have always, we've always led the industry in terms of warranties, right? We have the longest, most complete warranty in the industry. Our hydraulic motors and the peripheral hydraulic components are a full 20 years. Period. And even though we only get 1 year on, let's say, that torque motor that I talked about that's used in the car wash, we only get 1 year on that. But again, in our application, there's nowhere near the usable life of that thing, right? So even if you did a pool cover 5 times a day, that's not even 5 minutes of actual run time, where in a car wash, it's 8 hours, right? And so if one does go bad, we're happy to give it to you. So, consumer confidence in knowing, okay, here's a company that's been in business 43 years and it's backing up with the long warranty, as compared to electric motors from, other manufacturers. You have an electric motor underground, and they talk about these seal motors and stuff, but it's still a hostile wet environment. There's still ambient moisture down there. They only have 3 years on those motors. And if those motors go bad, it's a $2,000 repair. With our Aquamatic cover, you don't have that.
Right. I mean, when we talk about pool safety covers, and honestly, when we say the word drowning is always like a kind of elephant in a room, but I mean, pool safety covers do have a very big place on that pyramid of safety that we're talking about when we talk about preventing drowning accidents. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, drowning is the number one. I just use the term killer. Yeah, it's a number one factor in boys under 5. Is drowning. So, and it's never. Well, I shouldn't say it's never. It's for the most part, it's not external intrusion, meaning from somebody across the street or the other backyard. It's within the home. So yeah, I mean, the cover is, like I say, it is the best barrier, and I mean, thank God. I mean, there's never been an issue. We've never had an accident in 43 years. But still, at the end of the day, it's still the end user's responsibility to make sure their covers are in good shape and everything's functioning properly, right? I mean, it's like a seatbelt in an automobile. The auto manufacturer put it in there, but you have to put it on. With the cover, leave the cover. My cover's closed all the time unless I'm in the pool. There's no reason for it to be open. And also, the covers do deteriorate. The effects of UV and pool chemistry eventually take their toll. And so you want to make sure when it's time for the cover to be replaced, you get it replaced. It's like driving on bald tires. You wouldn't do that. Why would you're not going to run around and put your kids in harm by having tires that are corded, right? You're going to go and put new tires on. Do the same thing with a pool cover.
When we talk about that maintenance schedule, I mean, how often should a pool safety cover be inspected and maintained? And what are some of those common issues that come up that homeowners need to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, great question. And that is a absolute moving target. We could survey 10 people whose covers were all installed that same week, and you'd get 10 different answers. And a lot of it has to do with maintenance. Pool chemistry is the number one factor in cover life. If you superchlorinate, shock the pool and close the cover, you will dry out the cover, chemically burn it from the underside. Same thing on top. The covers, some environments are just dirtier than others. I'm not implying that the end user's dirty. I just, like where I live in a lot of farming area, and I've got a lot of windborne debris, and there's a lot of dirt that cakes onto the cover. Now, that left unchecked, that will also attack the plasticizers and dry out the cover. So cleaning of the cover surface is important, and that is different for everybody depending on where they are. So to answer your question, short story long, making sure your pool chemistry is in check all the time, and an ounce of prevention with a pound of cure, cleaning the cover surface. I've seen people go 10, 12 years, on the cover. The other side of it, I've seen people 4 or 5 or 6 years where, okay, it's completely destroyed. Now, certainly the higher the UV exposure, that will do some accelerating on that. But it really kind of boils down to how that person is maintaining their water chemistry and the cleaning of the cover surface. So we do a 7-year warranty on the vinyl, and that's prorated. The first 2 years are full, and then after the second year to year 7, it's 1/84th, right? 84 months. It starts to drop down, similar to tires or batteries on cars, that sort of thing.
Right.
But we don't get 1 minute worth of warranty from our fabric suppliers. So how did people say, how did we come up with 7? It was really just a marketing number, back in the day, because I've been here forever, right? We had a 3-year warranty. Well, the covers are going well beyond that. Let's go to 5. Let's separate ourselves, because when we started, there was really only 2 other cover manufacturers that point. And so, so we went to 5 to separate ourselves from the herd. And then they followed suit to 5 to follow us. And then when everybody else was 5, then we went to 7 because we were going well beyond 7. We were going beyond 5. So we went to 7 again. We developed the Aquamatic cover and have a long 20-year warranty on that. Let's boost the vinyl itself. And so we're still at 7. So my understanding, one manufacturer has dropped back down. They went from 7 back down to 5. So, on average, we're seeing 6 to 8 years of life expectancy on the vinyls in most applications. Sometimes longer, sometimes less, but less is always, there's deferred maintenance or no maintenance. They're just not taking care of their equipment.
Well, seeing as this podcast is primarily listened to by people that are in and of the industry, particularly pool contractors, what is the value prop for pool contractors who might be considering installing Aquamatic covers?
Certainly margin, right? I mean, every piece of equipment you put on your pool, you can certainly make some more money, but it's completing the project. Where we've seen a lot of growth is, because of the aforementioned energy savings that, the safety's always been there, but now we're seeing more builders add this as part of their portfolio and kind of the complete package, as it were. Pools themselves aren't exponentially growing, but the ratio of covers to pools are, just to use round numbers, let's say there's a guy I've been working with for many years, and 10 years ago, he did 2 covers for every 10 pools he built. 5 years ago, he's, 5 covers on every pools, and now he's, 7 or 8, right? So we're seeing that increase in that regard. But, the people that see it understand the benefit of a covered pool. So the value there is, I'm giving my end user, if I'm speaking as a builder, I'm giving my end user the best possible product. Here's a pool that's, the best built with the best materials, and it's going to be both safe and energy efficient, and it's going to enhance their ownership experience to the max. And that's why we include a pool cover. And some builders don't like to do it because they think it's complex, but it doesn't, it really isn't. It's not a complicated piece of equipment. And there's this misconception, this equipment, you have to have all this specialty installers and that sort of thing. We ship this cover right now. I just shipped my first cover to Fiji. So we've shipped covers to 65 countries in the world to people that have never seen them and got them in without any problem. So I believe we're the only automatic cover manufacturer that really lets anybody install it. Some people, they're saying, no, you have to have this authorized installer. It really doesn't matter to us who's turning the wrench, because I've seen the so-called professionals, do okay jobs. And, we've even had end users do their own installations where they're absolutely 101% perfect because they have skin in the game. So, the installation is absolutely spot on. But yeah, it's just having a more complete package to the end user, because the automatic cover isn't fluff. It's not like insurance where you have it out there. God, you hope you don't need it, but it better be there if you need it. The cover pays for itself the minute it's installed, and it makes the pool ownership better, from peace of mind, energy savings, and having a cleaner and warmer pool. These benefits are applicable to Aquamatic or brand X, Y, or Z. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. The benefit of the cover and the return on investment can't be debated. There's enough data out there. Well, safety is safety. We can't debate that. But in terms of energy savings, sometimes people talk about these numbers and return on investment. They kind of look at you a little bit cross-eyed, but no. U.S. Department of Energy did a study. Cal Poly did the most recent study on evaporative effects. So these numbers are real. They're quantifiable. They absolutely cannot be debated.
Well, I really appreciate you spending some time with us, Tom. Really appreciate you lending your expertise to the topic of pool safety covers and for educating us a bit on Aquamatic covers today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for contacting us, and happy to be here.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for listening in, and make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and we'll catch you next time on the next episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
This podcast brought to you by Basecrete, leaders in waterproof bond coatings for the swimming pool and construction industry.